Hi everyone, welcome to Virtual History 360. I'm Mr. Wade, and today we're going to be talking about the reform movements of the 19th century. Just so we're on the same page, that means the 1800s. Are we good? Great, let's start. This story starts with what is known as the Second Great Awakening. There was a great religious fervor sweeping through the nation. People would travel very far to attend events called revivals. At these revivals, they would listen to preachers speaking. They would pray, sing, weep, and shout with each other. This sense of community drove the attendees to want to reform their own lives. And you'll find that a lot of the larger reform movements from this era had their start at a religious revival. The movement that most closely attaches itself to this is the Temperance movement, which called for the banning of alcohol. There were even a few states that made the manufacture and sale of alcohol illegal. These states later repealed or canceled these laws. There are a few more reform movements that I want to talk about today. They are the education, mental health, prison, art, and abolitionist movements. Let's hop in the jet and check out a location. Here we are at the Horace Mann School in the Bronx in New York City. It is named after the leading reformer of education in the 19th century. Back then, schools had little resources and teachers had little training. On top of that, there were groups of people who were not allowed to attend school, such as girls, because their parents thought that the daughters did not need an education to become a wife or mother, and most schools did not allow African Americans to attend based solely on the color of their skin. With the help of people like Horace Mann, new schools started opening that provided education to both women and African Americans. New schools also began to open that were able to help people with disabilities. New techniques were developed to help educate people who were born deaf or blind. Other reformers, such as Dorothea Dix, fought for change against the injustices they saw firsthand. Dorothea visited prisons and saw the horrible conditions. Worse yet, some of the prisoners that she encountered had committed no crime. They were only in jail because they were mentally ill and society did not know what else to do with them. Dorothea made it her life's work to educate and also to fight and improve these conditions. Now, there was also a reform of art and literature during this time. Writers and artists used their work to not only inspire, but to urge people to fight for what is right. A couple examples. Ralph Waldo Emerson urged people to listen to their conscience or inner voice and to do what was right. Henry David Thoreau practiced civil disobedience. This is not obeying laws he thought were unjust, such as paying taxes that supported the Mexican War that he disagreed with. Now, the last thing I want to talk about today is the start of the abolitionist movement. Now, there have been abolitionists on this continent as long as there have been slaves. However, the reform movement of the mid-1800s really pushed this agenda. Now, we're going to spend a lot more time in class on this subject, but what I want you to take away from this video is that although it took years to achieve the end of slavery, there were a lot of people who were fighting for justice, such as William Lloyd Garrison. He started a newspaper to spread the message of abolition. Then we have Sarah and Angelina Grimke. These sisters were born into a slave-owning family, but spent their lives speaking out against slavery. Here we have Harriet Beecher Stowe. She's the author who wrote the novel Uncle Tom's Cabin. This novel detailed the horrors of slavery to the general population. And when Abraham Lincoln met her, he called her the little lady who started the Civil War, referring to her book. Then we have Frederick Douglass. He was born into slavery, but escaped to settle in Massachusetts. He not only fought for freedom, but for full equality for African Americans. All of this ties into the Underground Railroad, which helped usher slaves out of the South into the North, or even all the way to Canada. Now, you can't mention the Underground Railroad without talking about Harriet Tubman. She risked her life to rescue slaves. Now, I know I went really fast through that last part, but again, I just want you to know that it was not a small thing to fight for the end of slavery. The stories that we're going to talk about in class are incredible. So, let's review. Horace Mann was a leading education reformer. There were also advancements in the education of the deaf and blind. Dorothea Dix led the way for prison reform and for better treatment of the mentally ill. Authors and artists urged the public to listen to their inner voices and do what they believed was right. And finally, there was the abolitionist movement, which fought to end slavery. Now, if you found this video interesting or informative, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Virtual History 360. Thank you.